Welcome to your source of comic book news and culture. I'm Lewis.
And I'm Kevin.
So maybe you noticed that it's only been about 2 weeks since our last episode. We're getting back on track. Our goal is to release an episode every 2 weeks, maybe occasionally a little more frequent, but every 2 weeks is the plan for now.
We have a lot of plans for the future, but we're trying to take it slow and rebuild Variant Edition into something that we can keep going for a long time to come.
But we'll talk more about that as time goes on. For now, today we've got reviews, a new Fanboy Vocab, some news with a little bit of an editorial, and I'll take a look at the new Batman Arkham Knight game, which looks, oh my god. But first up, here's Kevin with the news.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and here's the news for the week of March 10th, 2014. So Mark Miller's in the news again. He just last week released Starlight #1, and shortly before it was available, a video popped up online showing a new fan very excited about it. So excited that she got a tattoo of the cover on her back. The expected tweeting and sharing and linking took place. We are not sure about the validity of this tattoo granny, but we tend to take things that have to do with Mark Miller with a grain of salt. He is pretty savvy when it comes to promotion. Remember his casting of Eminem for Wanted? Even though it didn't happen, it probably helped the movie get made. Or the viral video of the kid in costume fighting off some thugs before Kick-Ass came out. So whether it's an airbrush or a tattoo, mission accomplished. Former president and publisher at DC Comics and Legion of Superheroes writer Paul Levitz has joined the board of directors at Boom Studios. We'll have to wait and see what that means, but having such an experienced comic insider as part of Boom cannot be a bad thing for them. Between this, some new imprints, and an expanding number of titles of all kinds, Boom Studios is certainly taking on a few serious attempts to expand. Speaking of which, we here at Variant Edition are all excited to hear that Boom will be publishing a Big Trouble in Little China comic with director John Carpenter and Goon creator Eric Powell contributing. We can't wait to see how the good old Jack Burton will shake the pillars of heaven. Comixology announced last week that in the normal course of operations, they had noticed their database had been hacked. While usernames, email, and cryptographically protected passwords may have been compromised, no credit card information was exposed, or so they say. They advised users to log in and change their passwords, and for the next day, it seems like many tried to do exactly that, and had problems getting online or making the changes. Their servers seem to have caught up, but if you're unaware, be sure to change your password, and remember, don't use something easy like password or I Love Comics. Speaking of digital comics, Marvel announced at South by Southwest that they had updated their Marvel Unlimited app, and now would be introducing sound effects and music to select comics. While not new news, they had announced their desire to do so before. This is the first time it's now available. They will also be integrating the Marvel Augmented Reality special features for comics on the subscription service as well, and have announced a 99-cent promotion for the first month to test out the new features. Let's wrap up with a little something that's been causing quite a stir online. At last week's Comics Pro meeting in Atlanta, Eric Stevenson gave a speech where, amongst many other topics, he extolled the virtues of Image Comics as being a vanguard of a wave of creativity in the market. Well, he didn't explicitly limit to Image Comics, but the examples of Walking Dead and Saga sure point in that direction. Now, an editor-in-chief doing something like that isn't that reblog worthy, but his comment that licensed comics aren't real and will never grow the market sure was. Putting on a bit of an editorial hat for a minute, most of what he said in his speech was true. It's just not very productive to label some comics as real and others not. Here's a bit of his logic. Walking Dead comic came first, then the TV show. So when TV fans want more, they go to the source, the real comics. But when Star Wars or Transformers fans want more after they see the movies, they'll literally buy anything. So they go to the fake comics for more of the same. While he may have a point, two things are very obvious to me. He certainly could have made the same point without being divisive or controversial. Second, he knew exactly what he was doing using the language he did. He wanted the controversy and for this conversation to take place, and to probably jolt existing and upcoming creators to expand the market and create new comics with new ideas. Now, the reason this resonated with me is that he is wrong on my account, and I'm sure for many others. I would likely not be a comic book fan, a former comics retailer, and make a show online about them if it wasn't for one licensed comic that got me utterly hooked on what comics could do, and that was the original Larry Hama run of G.I. Joe. Yup, a fake comic like G.I. Joe. I had a mail subscription so I wouldn't miss an issue, still went to the 7-Eleven to buy it because I could get it a week early. I read and reread those first years of issues countless times. Through Variant Edition, I even got a chance to meet Larry Hama and pretty much couldn't do more than stutter out what a big fan I was. But too bad it was just a fake comic. Now it's funny, I remember my young self having an epiphany. Comics were cool. And then I saw a house ad for Marvel's Fall of the Mutants and I thought, that looks neat, I should give it a try. From humble beginnings can come big things. Not every licensed comic can do this. Some are clearly just for the money. But even then, it's a chance to get new fans in the shops. Like most things, it's about moderation. The market can't be all Walking Dead or Spider-Man or Star Wars. But imagine a well-run store that had all of these and more, and you have a gateway for new fans. I get the hyperbole of the topic, and I'm sure Eric Stevenson did too. I just wish that the fanboys could see beyond the baiting nature of the topic and have a more productive discussion than what's now real and what's only fake. Okay, that's it for the news this week, and a bit of an editorial. Here's Lewis with his thoughts about the new Batman game.
All right, guys, so we're going to cover something that has just been revealed to us this past week or so. And if you haven't heard, you've been living on a rock or a different planet or an alternate universe, or you have no technology in your house at all. I don't know how you're surviving. A brand new Batman game was just announced. It's called Arkham Knight. I was just as surprised as anybody else because I got the last Origins game. And I thought, wow, that's the end. Great trilogy, phenomenal game. There'll be no other great Batman game ever made. Wrong, all right? Because this trailer came out, and I literally almost had an epileptic seizure in my seat. Okay, I actually think I did have one because I blacked out for like a couple minutes and I came back to, and I was on the floor. Whatever. This game alone, if you saw the trailer, you're going to see the trailer. We'll put something up right now. The cinematics alone, just the graphics, unbelievable. You got a completely redesigned Batmobile, a completely redesigned Batsuit. Just everything about it. It looks like the Rogues Gallery is going to get together and really pull a fast one on Bruce because it's a pretty big high concept from what it looks like. I mean, there hasn't been any formal thing released yet, but you got Two-Face, you got Harley Quinn, you got the Penguin, God knows who else. I'm not sure if they're going to keep the main storyline continuity going with what came before in the previous games because we obviously know the Joker's dead. Killer Croc could still be in the picture. The possibilities are limitless, but just based on the trailer alone, this is going to be such a massive ordeal, and the only catch of it being that if you don't own an Xbox One or a PS4 or a high-powered PC, you are crap out of luck, okay? That is the only main sad point to this, but also a good point because now it gives you an excuse. Hey, I'm going to save up $300 to $600 and spend it just for this game, which is the right reason that I would do. I'm actually considering selling in Oregon at this point. But just based on the trailer alone, 4 minutes, I mean, I actually kind of want to see a movie out of this. Forget the game now. I mean, I want the game anyway. The game's going to happen. But I want a movie now. The cinematics alone in that 4-minute preview sold this game before, I don't even know. That's it. I had no idea this game was in development. I'm guessing that since Rocksteady took over, this game was already in development as soon as they wrapped up Arkham Origins, because that's the only way that would explain such a quick release date. I mean, it's coming out this year. No time frame, like what month, but the fact that it's coming out this year already and it's already on the next generation platform, it's a big deal, and it comes as a big surprise, and it's a great surprise. I'm really hoping that they do a collector's edition because I've gotten the collector's edition of the previous games, and for that extra $40 to $50, it's always worth it, guys. Go out and get it. You get like this. Who knows what they'll get with this? I'm kind of hoping they put out that Batmobile. That'll be ridiculous. But keep your eyes peeled. We'll here at Variant Edition will keep you guys informed on the latest updates with the game, the story, anything that has to do with it. Just keep your eyes peeled, and I just cannot wait for this game. I'm sure you can't wait either.
So I'm going to take a look at Starlight #1 by Mark Miller and Goran Parlov. Now, if you saw some of the early art from this, or maybe even some of the solicitation stuff, you might have thought that this was a Flash Gordon ripoff or something like that. I heard a lot of that. So I went in as much as I could with my eyes open to this book. And I am glad that I did. First, I have to address the art. It is amazing. I don't know where this guy came from, but wow, am I glad that he's doing comics. And something like this comic means that he's going to be around for a little while, and hopefully, Miller is going to keep him on this book because I think that he is a superstar in the making. His stuff is amazing. Okay? All right, fanboy gushing aside, Mark Miller kind of has two modes where he's really amazing and where he's, okay, cool, does a lot of shocking kind of things, and that's, kind of his modus operandi. Or he'll start with one and with the other. There's been books where started strong, but maybe not so great at the end. This book starts very strong. So it's not so much a Flash Gordon ripoff, okay, as much as in the 40s and 50s, there was a lot of sci-fi serials. And at the time, the future was kind of seen in one way, one style. And Flash Gordon was one of those, and which is the most famous. So most of the time, if we see anything that looks like that from that time period, we just assume it's Flash Gordon. I mean, there's a pretty good chance it was, but it wasn't the only one at the time. Now, the weird alien worlds that our lead character is involved with at the beginning of this book look like that style of things. And it's kind of cool because it has this like weird retro future kind of look to it. It's alien, but it's not. It's swashbuckling. It has a lot of interest, kind of just built in, because we already have some expectations about it. But it's definitely not a Flash Gordon clone or a ripoff or anything like that. Basically, the crux of the story is this. Some test pilot somehow, sucked through a wormhole or something, ends up in an alien world. And of course, being the outsider, frees the people from tyranny and has all these great adventures and, wins the heart of the princess and all this stuff. All the things that you would assume looks like it happened. Except it doesn't feel cheesy. It doesn't feel like it's too derivative of anything else because it's juxtaposed with his modern day life. He's a guy in his 60s. He was ridiculed when he came back from the alien world because he wanted to tell everybody what happened and nobody believed him. And something big has just happened in his life and he's starting to wonder, what is he going to do next? Does his life have any meaning? And pretty much right on cue at the end of the issue, something happens which looks like it's going to propel him back into the adventure that he had for a very short time of his life and then was content to come home. This next bit looks like it's going to be, instead of us dwelling on all the past stuff that happened when he was on this alien world, it's now going to propel him back towards it. And I think will really diminish a lot of those, Flash Gordon kind of things. It is one of the strongest #1 issues I've read in a very long time. It's a pretty high concept book. And like I said, I hope this is the Mark Millar that keeps this really strong idea and keeps it running because I didn't think I was going to like this book when I first saw it, and I love it. And I think everybody should check it out.
All right, guys, another Marvel Now #1 big book. Marvel Now is obviously attacking your senses with all these #1s, all these relaunches. It's a little overwhelming, but at the same time, it's kind of a good thing because it's like you have so much stuff to choose from now, and you can literally just kind of close your eyes and do one of these in the comic book store, which is fun. So here we got Moon Knight #1 with Warren Ellis at the helm and Declan Shalvey as the artist. I hope I pronounced that right. Interesting stuff. Think of Batman, Bruce Wayne basically completely stripped down, no suit, all the money, some toys, the mansion, but just completely insane, or is he? Forget what you previously read in the other Moon Knight volumes. I mean, Charlie Houston stuff was amazing that he did with David Finch, and then Bendis's mini, the couple volumes he did was great. But this approach by Warren Ellis is just plain clean slate. Here's what happened. Here's where I've been. Here's where I'm at right now. And this is what's going to happen next. It's great. It's basically almost like a spooky crime book, if you want to put it that way. I'm not sure if that's just the first story that they're going to go with or if that's going to be the overall theme of the book or tone. But it feels that way. The art, it's very interesting. A lot of multiple panels, and it's more or less very personable between Mr. Knight, as they refer to him. He's actually working with the cops, which doesn't look to be in big favor of the rookies and recruits, but for some reason one of the main detectives likes to use Moon Knight as his crime scene investigator. His suit is just, the getup that he's wearing is just, it's phenomenal. It's an all-white suit, this crazy white mask, and it's kind of disturbing. I got the chills reading this book because it's kind of like, you're not sure what to expect. This guy could just flip out at any minute, or he can just have this calm demeanor, almost like a Sherlock Holmes approach to the problem he's addressing. But very interesting book, interesting setup issue. I'm not sure what to make of it. I like it. It's almost one of those things where it's kind of like you don't know what to make of something, but you like it. I'm very interested to see where this goes and what kind of role he's going to play just in that little domain in the city that he's in. Because he was obviously part of the Secret Avengers for a little bit, but that was very short-lived. Again, ignore what you read before. This is a whole new take. I like it. It's grim. It's gritty. The problems that came before his multiple personality disorder, DID, that it gets addressed, and it's very interesting because it refers back to his origins. So it gets cleaned up very nicely. Things are very streamlined in this book. Warren Ellis, of course, You put somebody like that in a book, he can fix anything, for God's sakes. I mean, you should just give him the whole Marvel Universe for all I care. But definitely worth a pickup. Very interested to see where this book goes. I can't wait.
So somebody said that movies and stories about water and things like that never work. You know, we've got Waterworld. I mean, maybe The Abyss, that kind of worked. Well, Scott Snyder has done it for comics. This feels like a big budget summer blockbuster movie. And I'm referring to The Wake. Issue 6 just came out. And it's funny because the first 5 issues was a story that kind of ended in a cliffhanger. But that was chapter 1. That was the setting up of this whole story, where basically, and again, this isn't giving too much away because this is a new world in issue 6. A marine biologist is recruited to come onto a team because this underwater research facility is being attacked by something, and what it ends up being is mermen, okay? It sounds kind of goofy, but these guys are horrifying. Basically, what happened to Atlantis? These guys happened to Atlantis. And for some reason, you know, the humans at the time fought these guys off. They went into hibernation or whatever it was. And now they're back. And they're here to reclaim the world. And by the end of the 5th issue, they're on track to do so. Issue 6 starts up. They've actually managed to melt part of the polar ice caps. The world is a completely different place. Humanity is struggling to survive. This is an amazing, amazing, amazing book. I don't want to give too much away about issue 6 because the story, incredible. The art by Sean Murphy, amazing. His style is kind of different from what you see in a lot of mainstream comics, but suits this perfectly. There's so much depth in his character, and when there's action, there's so much like kinetic energy in everything that he does. Odd topic for a book, but one that works so well. This is something that everybody should be reading. Don't wait for the trades. This is a great, great book.
All right, let me start by saying that Frank Castle is in the house. This relaunch of Everyone's Skull-Faced Vigilante does him complete justice and then some. Frank has left the big city that, quite frankly, is way too overpopulated with caves and tights anyway, to somewhere that is the polar complete opposite of New York. He's in LA, tracking down a major drug cartel that has left towns in ruin in its wake, but there's way more to the story than meets the eye. AIM, also known as Advanced Idea Mechanics, is aiding this drug cartel for reasons unknown, and Frank doesn't like the look of it. Nathan Edmondson, I want to congratulate you, first of all, for putting the Punisher back on the map in a way that we haven't seen since the magnificent Garth Ennis left us some years ago. Between the inner monologue and the story setup to the intense action sequences we are seeing, a new side of the Punisher that I really think that hasn't been explored before. There's no more of the calculated executioner of evil and extreme justice. We now see a more personable person who is using his change of scenery as a new beginning in his crime vindication. Let's not forget Mr. Gerard's artwork. Very gritty, intense, and really sets the mood for the mayhem that ensues in this issue, which, believe me, there's a ton. There's a really big surprise at the end of this issue that's sure to light a spark under some people's butts when they get to it, and perfectly reintegrates the Punisher back into the Marvel U proper. Hey guys, and welcome to another segment of Fanboy Vocabulary, where we here at Variant Edition help break down certain words and themes in comics that may leave a new reader and sometimes an experienced veteran a little befuddled. This week's word sparks a lot of controversy, especially when it comes to two major particular publishers and some of their best characters and greatest stories. And that word, ladies and gentlemen, is retcon, aka retroactive continuity. There are various motivations for retconning. The changes may occur to accommodate sequels or derivative works, allowing newer authors or creators to revise the in-story history to include a course of events that would not have been able to be possible in the story's original continuity. Remember that word? Retcons allow for authors to reintroduce popular characters and resolve errors in chronology. Retcons are common in pulp fiction, especially comic books. The long history of popular titles and the number of writers who contribute stories can often create situations that either demand clarification or revision. For example, we all remember Bucky, who was Captain America's partner during his early glory days during World War II. He died when he was at the end of receiving a bomb that was aimed to blow up during his and Cap's last confrontation with Arnim Zola and the Red Skull. During Ed Brubaker's epic run on the relaunch, Captain America, he used the power of the retcon to reveal that Bucky actually survived this blast somehow, but lost his arm and suffered amnesia as a result. Of course. He was picked up by a Soviet group and brainwashed into being a Black Ops assassin for them, and being cryogenically frozen when not on missions, which actually still explains how he's so much younger than Cap. when it was revealed in Cap's book that Bucky was in fact the Winter Soldier who had come back from the dead to haunt Cap and was on a killing spree because of a nervous breakdown he suffered previously. In this case, the retcon was used for a perfect purpose, as to reintroduce a character into continuity for the sake of making a good story even better, and making the mythos of Captain America the best they've ever been. Now, a horrible example of a retcon is when Marvel and certain people involved with the project decided to erase a large chunk of Peter Parker's / Spider-Man's history by having him make a deal with Mephisto to alter reality itself to change certain events in order for his Aunt May to live after almost being killed by a sniper that the Kingpin had hired, thus nullifying his marriage to Mary Jane and even changing his age and his status as a character at that time in all his books. The comic community was up in arms, and there was nothing but more questions that came out as the end result of this awful retcon. So there you go, the pros and cons of retconning. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time on Fanboy Vocab. Okay, so that's it for this episode of Variant Edition.
Now that we're getting back on track, it's really important that we get some help from you.
That's right. If you like Variant Edition, there's a good chance you may know someone else that may like it too, so spread the word. Be sure to share this episode on Facebook or on Twitter.
You know, we're growing and we hope to keep growing, so we're looking for more help to expand the show. So if you live in the New York, New Jersey area and are interested, let us know.
Don't live near us but still want to contribute? Email Kevin and we can talk. We have some ideas that we are working on and we'll talk about them soon, but don't let that stop you. Contact us now.
You know, we're working on our website, variantedition.com. It's coming along slowly because we're focusing on the show. But you can always find our episodes on YouTube, Blip TV, and iTunes. Now, the newer episodes may not be showing up on iTunes right away. We're still working on that.
So don't forget, and we're sorry for keeping saying this, but be sure to share this episode on Facebook and or on Twitter.
Exactly. We need to spread the word. So that's it for this episode. We're going to see you in a week or two with more footage from the New York Comic Con.
Later.
Bye.